Let's tap in.
They are deeply connected to the human mind. They manipulate it. We only see what they allow us to see. Our history, our culture, and even our technology are not entirely ours.
What?
We know what others have told us. And sometimes those others are not human. The word angel, in its etymological sense, simply means
He's gonna say fallen angels, isn't he?
a messenger from someone higher. In this cosmic hierarchy, there are countless beings, from the mineral kingdom up to God. Humanity has its place within this scale, yet the ladder continues beyond us. But humans have fallen into the childish belief that we are the highest rung, with God immediately above.
That's what it seems like. It seems like we were made in the image of God. Are you telling me everything I believe is a lie? Maybe.
And so that vapor, that pain, that blood, that is what they, some of them, that is what they want. In
No.
ancient times, sanctuaries were expectant because God was coming. Today, do you know how that has been replaced? With a stadium full of people, the human brain emits waves. Now, 100,000
I think he's gonna say these are all energy harvesting rituals.
people in a soccer stadium, that is a flow that they, some of them, pick up.
What if humanity were not at the top of the evolutionary chain? What if behind religions, wars, economic crises, and suffering, there was something more? Salvador Freixedo, a former Jesuit priest.
Woohoo! Jesuit baby! I went to a high school which was a Jesuit high school. So I know all about this. And I thought they were all good people and nobody could do any wrong. And then I went down the weird rabbit hole of the Catholic Church and I was like, what is going on? And some people are like, they secretly rule the world, the Jesuits and the Freemasons. And I'm like, yo, just shut the fuck up, bro. I'm not trying to deal with all that. Like, I don't think they run the world. Maybe they run parts of like things like shakers and bakers, but there's always a level above until you get to the ruler of this planet, Satan. But yeah,
Dared to say it out loud. Human history has been manipulated by invisible entities that control us from the shadows. He didn't speak from fantasy or delusion, but from a life entirely dedicated to observing, investigating, and connecting the dots that no one else dared to see. He was expelled from the church for telling the truth,
yeah,
silenced by the system for revealing the forbidden. Today,
that's why they call them secret societies. And when you're somebody who likes the truth to get out there, like me, like you, they don't like that. And that's probably why this guy is an ex-Jesuit now. That's crazy, though. They were probably like, "You're revealing too much," and he's like, "What do you mean? We're supposed to be children of God, up on high to lift other people up high and help people, and you're going to twist it into something perverse. I mean, this is what happens when good programs or good initiatives get hijacked by evil."
we will explore his story, his most disturbing discoveries, and the message he left for those capable of listening. Because maybe we are not what we believe. And perhaps knowing this truth is the first step
What, the Anunnaki?
toward liberation. Salvador Freixedo, the rebel ex-Jesuit.
Sounds like a gangster to me, bro.
What if what
Going against the system.
we
Let's
have
go.
worshipped for centuries as gods were nothing more than invisible farmers feeding off of us?
Ah!
Salvador Freixedo, ex-Jesuit and key figure in Hispanic American alternative thought, dared to
Keep
pose this
dropping me.
idea. Born in Spain in 1923, he grew up in a deeply religious environment and joined the Society of Jesus, the powerful Jesuit order, at a very young age. He was a man of faith, educated at universities in Europe and America, with access to the highest circles of ecclesiastical power.
Wow.
For more than 30 years, he preached, taught, and founded Christian movements in Latin America. But something didn't fit. As he closely observed the church's inner workings, he began to perceive a deep disconnect between what was preached and true spirituality. In 1968, he broke the silence with his book, My Church Sleeps, a direct denunciation of institutional rigidity and the loss of spiritual meaning in the church. He was censored, expelled from the order, and became a dissident. From that point on, his search became radical. He abandoned official doctrine and immersed himself in the study of the UFO phenomenon, parapsychology, and non-human intelligences. According to Freixedo, many of the entities that have been worshipped as gods throughout history could in fact be beings that manipulate humanity from invisible realms.
This is sounding very David Icke to me.
In his book, Let's Defend Ourselves from the Gods, he argues that these beings are not seeking our redemption, but our energy. In The Human Farm, one of his most impactful works, he suggests that suffering, wars, and oppressive religions could be part of a control system designed by intelligences that not only manipulate us, but may have lived among us for centuries. Freixedo was not trying to provoke, he was searching for answers, and the ones he found are not easy to accept. If Freixedo was right, then the strings that move our reality are not in human hands, and perhaps never have been. But who are these entities? And how are they connected to other researchers?
I'm pretty sure that's a motherfucking Anunnaki, bro. Literal Anunnaki. I don't know, man. And then you got all the Nephilim, the fallen angels. You got all this shit, and it's all found in biblical stories. Maybe not the ones from the 66 Bibles, but the Book of Enoch. There's many other mystical things, but then scholars go against many of them. I think there's one, the Gospel of Thomas, and that's a very controversial one, and others. But
Who also broke away from the official version of the world.
Bro, the level just started and we're already getting overrun. I gotta take these guys out and build this crossbow tower as fast as possible. I don't even think I have a choice. Quickly, quickly, quickly. Ooh, that was close, but that should take care of things.
The invisible owners of the earth. In his books, Salvador Freixedo argues that, by carefully observing history, it is possible to trace the presence of certain entities that presented themselves as gods in different cultures around the world. However, far from seeking our spiritual evolution, these figures would have a very different objective: to feed on our energy, not only in a physical way, but also through the emotional vibrations that emanate from fear, suffering, and submission. Freixedo even suggests that these beings could inhabit different dimensional planes, and raises the possibility that some governments may have made pacts with them.
of course they did, dude. We get advanced technology, and they get their little energy harvesting ritual. Seems pretty self-explanatory to me. I know it sounds schizo, bro, but I mean, when you start diving into like, okay, where did the ideas of these beings come from? The original genealogy, or anything that could potentially be used as semi-proof, could be transformative in one's mindset.
Exchanging advanced technology and power in return for continuing to implement their agenda on Earth. This vision is shared by some researchers, such as the controversial British investigator David Icke. He argues that many figures of power, from political leaders to high-ranking officials of global institutions, are nothing more than puppets serving these ancient entities. Icke bases
Wow.
much of his theory on the ancient
They
Gnostic.
said Ike. Yo, what did I say earlier? I said this is sounding a little David Icke to me, and now they're mentioning him. Of course, because he is the go-to on this stuff. He knows about the reptilians, bro. This is nuts.
Texts discovered in Nag Hammadi in 1945. According to these writings, the material world was not created by the supreme God, but by a lesser intelligence,
What, the demiurge? Demiurgos?
the demiurge.
Oh, no, I didn't see that one coming. Oh, welcome, introductory class to not I almost said narcissism. That's kind of right too, but no. In these esoteric circles, dude. Why did the Gnosticism? There you go. I'm having brain problems today, bro.
This false god, arrogant and limited, believing himself to be unique and all-powerful, would have created a spiritual prison where human consciousness remains trapped. At his service would be the archons,
Archon.
invisible entities that manipulate the human mind, feed on fear, suffering, and ignorance, and keep
That's
humanity
crazy.
away from the knowledge that could liberate it.
That's why they don't like that. When I tapped into the sacred secretion, that was my ascent into my initial occurrence of gang stalking. Okay, because somehow they knew that I tapped into the sacred secretion, that I was awakened, I was in my power. Maybe it's these people or these entities. Maybe they can sense energy, the subtle energy fields, energetic fields that come off of our bodies, formed through the heart, because the heart doesn't just pump blood like everybody likes to say it does. Not that it doesn't. I'm pretty sure it definitely does, but it also goes boom, boom, boom. That's a rhythmic inductor. And what that does is that creates a toroidal field around our body, probably about 3 feet out. You can probably hold your arm out like that, and it goes to the length of your arm, maybe a little longer. And you have this energetic field around your body. When it's weaker, you're more susceptible to being overtaken and having your energy absorbed. This is very real. We're made up of energy, and people do have powers and abilities to zap your energy from you or take it from you. They're called energy vampires. It's a very real feeling. You can feel it. I can't really use words to fully explain it. You would have to have gone through it to understand. And these people who zap your energy, they might not be fully human. They might be partly human, or they might appear to be human, but they're either under demonic oppression, demonic possession, or they are the fucking demons, and they're just wearing a meat suit, or they could be a fucking clone. I mean, there's so many theories, right? So it's like baffling, and it's a lot to take in. But if you can just focus on one area at a time, you can check off what you think has potential and what's like woo woo out there and nonsense, and you can start to make a list of, so come to your own conclusion, your own truth. Use your brain. It's a tool. It's meant to be used. You know what I mean?
Gnosis, the internal recognition of the divine spark. From this perspective, many of the ancient deities that demanded sacrifices, fear, and obedience might be nothing more than manifestations of the demiurge or his archons. And if this is so, the Gnostic texts would not only be revealing the true nature of these entities, but also a possible way out, reconnecting with the divine spark that resides deep within every human being. What if the key to our freedom is not outside, but within ourselves? We will explore this further later on.
Out here, every commander seeks something different.
Nerd.
Non-human entities. Salvador Freixedo openly spoke of the invisible owners of the earth, non-human beings who, according to him, have been behind the rise of many religions, empires, and power structures.
What?
At the center of his investigations was a provocative reinterpretation of the God of the Old Testament. For Freixedo, Yahweh was not a supreme and transcendent being, but a powerful entity with its own interests, who
Kinda
chose a
evil.
specific people, the Hebrews, to carry out his plans.
Ooh.
He presented himself as an almighty deity with the aim of manipulating and subjugating them through fear, obedience, and sacrifice. This being, according to Freixedo, did not act like a loving god, but rather like a true cosmic farmer, an intelligence that uses humans for specific purposes.
So we're cattle. Great.
Yahweh's demands in biblical accounts were not signs of compassion, but of control. He ordered exterminations, massacres, and atrocious punishments for any disobedience. Moses received direct instructions to execute leaders of his people for having worshipped other gods, and later was ordered to annihilate the Midianites, including
Okay.
women and children.
You're really not going to like the book of Joshua then. My name is Joshua, bro. The book of Joshua, he just destroyed everybody. God was like, take them all out, every last one of them. And he's like, bet, my G. Yo, it's simple. The old God, the Old Testament God was a jealous God, and he did not like people turning away from what he wanted them to do. Yet he still gave them free will, and therein lies the paradox. Like, you can't really have the right to bitch if you're giving people free will. You gave them the free will, but still, I get it. So, as a Christian, we feel kind of stuck with the Old Testament because when you read the New Testament, it's all this fire and Jesus and sacrificing and being the lamb for us and all this great stuff. Wow, God came into the flesh and then died for us. That's how much He loves us. Whereas the Old Testament's like God's telling me to kill my own son, and then when I was about to do it, He's like, "No, you don't have to do it. I was just testing you." Like it just seems it's so hard for people to say those are the same God. They seem like polar opposites, like literal polar opposites. And but when you keep reading and when you learn to connect verses from here from the New Testament and here from the New with here and here and here from the Old, then you're going to start seeing all these correlations and being like, and it's not going to stop just because you notice one or two of them, bro. There's probably over 4 to 5 thousand connections from old to new and new to old, and whether there's they're all over the place, bro. I would recommend listening to Sam Shamoon. He is brilliant, brilliant mind, excellent person. Check him out. You know.
These are just a few examples of the many atrocities the Bible attributes to him. What most caught Freixedo's attention were the detailed instructions given by Yahweh for sacrificial rituals, which part of the animal should be burned, how the ritual should be performed, what should be offered. All of this, he thought, was not symbolic, but functional. It generated a specific energy, the suffering and fear of the animal, the surrender and obedience of the devotee, that this entity used for some specific purpose, perhaps as a form of nourishment. But Yahweh would not be an isolated case. Other ancient cultures described in the Bible also worshipped deities that demanded blood sacrifices.
So where do we draw the line? I'm not disrespecting my God. I'm just saying.
The same occurred in Mesoamerica, where the Aztecs offered beating hearts to their gods to feed them and maintain cosmic order. Why this global coincidence? What did these entities gain from pain, blood, and fire? Were they not merely rituals, but a form of food? Freixedo speculated that perhaps these forces needed that dense, low-vibration energy to manifest in our dimension.
Yep.
From this perspective,
That might be correct because when talking about energetic fields and such, when you get into a lower, denser field, like they just said, that's when you can come into physicality. That's when you could be the material used for the human skin or flesh or a table, something like man-made. But anything physical like this, like my face, I'm slapping my face and it hurts, right? Because it's real, it's physical. In order to take that form, and in order for energy to take that form, it has to go from a higher thing like to a lower thing like whoa, and then it can actually come in. That's what these physicists talk about, you know.
Yahweh would not be the one true God, but just one among several powerful entities that, throughout history, have manipulated humanity to serve their own interests. Many maintain that the Bible must be interpreted symbolically or metaphorically.
Both.
However, for Salvador Freixedo, it was not a spiritual or moral book, but a historical chronicle, a testimony of...
Okay, I thought he was going to go what I said, where these were literal stories, but within those literal stories are embedded reading between the lines. You know what I'm saying? Like, but yeah. So physical and literal, but also metaphorical or allegorical as well.
Counters
Why does something always have to be one or the other? They trick you with the word or because when they say you want this or this, they're tricking your subconscious so that your conscious brain assumes there's only two choices and you must make one and tell them. That's the trick. That's the trick. Learn to spot it.
between humans and non-human intelligences that posed as gods. What if the biblical accounts were not the first? What if their origin lies in something much older, inherited from civilizations that already spoke of gods coming from the sky thousands of years before? The gods who came from the sky. In 1849, during excavations at the ruins of Nineveh in present-day Iraq, archaeologist Austin Henry Layard discovered the ancient library of Ashurbanipal. There, buried for centuries, rested over 20,000 Sumerian tablets written in cuneiform. Among them was a surprising account. The story of the Anunnaki, beings who descended from the sky, imposing and fearsome, known for their great stature, majestic presence, and ability to alter human genetics. They were not simply venerated deities, but cosmic engineers who, according to the texts, created human beings as a modified species to serve them.
What? We're going to serve y'all, but we don't even know y'all exist? I don't know. I don't know about this.
What is most disturbing is that many of these ancient narratives coincide point by point with passages from the Bible. The most evident example is that of the Great Flood, which appears with similar details in the Epic of Gilgamesh.
The flood, didn't the flood, it was supposed to kill the Nephilim or kill the Anunnaki or whatever. Whatever these weirdos, these giants, these fucking freaks, right? It was supposed to take them all out. I don't know.
Centuries before being recorded in Genesis. Perhaps the very story of the Garden of Eden was referring to that genetic modification by the Anunnaki. Freixedo suspected that these similarities were not mere coincidences. In fact, he believed that much of the Old Testament may have been built upon much older stories.
Look at that on the right. Bro, I need you to understand that's the double helix, which is our DNA. If you look at the top, though, like over here, okay? If you look where Adam and Eve are, you look in the middle where that double helix is, you're going to see at the top two snakes' heads. Okay, that's showing the double spiral as being two snakes coming up. It's representative of the Ida and the Pingala nerve that go down our spinal cord. It carries the oil of gladness or the cerebrospinal fluid down the journey, down the Jordan River. And on the way back up, it takes the seed born in Bethlehem and it carries it and it goes through the crux, the cross, the crucifixion. It's crucified, meaning it's amplified in power times 1,000. Then when it hits and returns to the place of the skull, Golgotha, or the optic thalamus, the light of the world, true transformation occurs. Super consciousness, your brain is like things, like everything that you're watching and listening to and talking and your experiences, you're operating in like God mode. Like I don't know how else to put it into words for you, okay? Everything, all these questions you might have had about life, answered. Everything answered. No problem. Like, yeah. Super consciousness and then some. Also, new dormant brain cells are activated, millions of dormant brain cells, and new blood cells are made in the body. And all or most dis-ease in the body, dead, gone, no more. This is the spiritual regenerative rebirth of physicality, but also spirituality. It's metaphysical yet physical, like literally physical. It's a physical process, but there are many metaphysical processes within it, like the awakening part. It's called the sacred secretion. It changed my life forever on February 15th, 2023. Document it.
borrowed from Mesopotamian cultures.
I'm going to slit your throat and choke you.
No.
Stop, please.
No, dude.
I rushed in.
Not the dog.
Leave him
Hurt
alone.
the guy.
He didn't do anything.
Yeah, leave him alone. All right, I'm done.
This connection between the biblical God and the Sumerian gods was especially uncomfortable for the church and certain academic sectors.
I wonder
According
why.
to him, this information was hidden because it called into question the pillars of official religion and suggested
That's what's really buried in the Vatican. The fucking truth. Whatever the truth is, they're like, oh, we shall put it in archives and put it away. And anybody comes near, we kill them. Psychos,
an
bro.
unsettling.
Absolute power corrupts. Absolutely. That's all I got to say. But I'm still a proud Catholic. But maybe some people at the top aren't the best people who deserve to be at the top. Maybe.
Possibility that religions were not born to bring us closer to the divine, but to keep us under control. This view gains even more weight when studying the heavenly hierarchies in
Abrahamic religions.
Christian
Wow.
tradition. Seraphim, cherubim, thrones, dominions, principalities. What if they were not messengers of divine love, but parts of a sophisticated non-human power structure?
All right.
The Book of Enoch, excluded from the canonical Bible, offers more clues.
What did I say in the beginning of the video? I said the 66 books that they give to us as the KJV that I have in this room might not get into great detail on this. You know, it might mention their names like Nephilim or something like that or whatever, Anunnaki baby. I don't even know. So that shows how much I don't know. But the Book of Enoch goes into grave detail on these matters, okay? That is the main reason why they probably pulled it from giving it out to the masses. And also, I think people would panic if they really believed it. If they read what they read in there and then they fully believed it, because they do, we're believers, so we would believe it. And then mass panic would induce it. Maybe they don't want that. So maybe some people at the top are good people. That would be great. But let's see. Or maybe they're just gatekeeping everything.
It tells how certain angels, called Watchers, descended to earth, took human women, and begot
The Watchers. Yo, check out Soul Illuminati. Soul Illuminati. Soul Illuminati. Yeah, spiritual soul. Dude, he's awesome. He talks about the Watchers. He did a video a few months back on it. The Watchers and the Drinkers. Yo, those videos are nuts, bro. He's awesome.
giants. The Nephilim. These angels taught men forbidden arts, such as sorcery, astrology, and metallurgy. Their rebellion was punished, according to the text, by God. But who really were these Watchers? Some contemporary researchers have directly linked the Anunnaki to the Watchers from the Book of Enoch, suggesting they might be the same entities known by different names in different cultures. If this were true, then these...
Just so you know, they're people who are immortal. Their punishment, I almost said penance, their punishment is to roam the earth for the rest of the days. Not their days, the days. Meaning their curse is that they can't die. So we would look at it as a blessing because we all die. So we'd be like, oh, I would love to live forever. The grass is always greener on the other side, bro. So they said, God said, your punishment is you're going to roam this earth forever. And they fell down, you know, they're in a fallen state, fallen angel, and they can shapeshift. So if they want to look 30 years old and look like Joshua Dutczak, they can go bloop, 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 and just look just like me, talk just like me. Apparently they have these powers if they're real, you know. If not, then these fictional characters still have these powers because that's how it was written. Right? So either way, whether it's real or not, this is just the characteristics one can find within a fallen angel. And people, many people who are awakened, think that fallen angels are around us, that you've probably walked right by one, you've probably shaken one's hand, they've probably siphoned your energy before, they might be addicted to your energy if you're a chosen one, they might have you gang stalked. The reason you're in the gang stalking programs is not just because other humans want to watch you, but these people want to watch you, and they have the connections at the top. Who knows?
Entities, whether called gods, watchers, fallen angels, or Anunnaki, have been involved in a vast operation of manipulation and energy extraction since ancient times. And if they never left,
Why? Why are y'all so addicted to us and our human energy? I understand it's infectious, right? But still, like, leave us alone, please.
are they still operating from the shadows? Could it be that today, under new names and more sophisticated methods, they continue to control humanity? It's enough to look at the modern world. Endless wars, economic crises, global fear, slavery disguised as progress. Everything suggests these entities have not disappeared. They've only evolved. They no longer need temples. Now they feed on collective fear, daily anxiety, the suffering of millions trapped in systems they neither understand nor can change. But if they haven't
Wow, that was crazy. Humans walking into the cell phone, going into the digital age.
vanished,
Wow.
can we find proof or evidence of their presence in the world today?
Chow too.
UFOs, the gods in disguise.
I'm Chow too. Bringing it back,
Skies.
killing the track. I won't stop till I got me $1 million cash. Bringing it back, killing the track. I won't stop till I got me $1 million cash when I'm bringing it back. Yo, that's facts.
In Let's Defend Ourselves from the Gods, Freixedo presents a provocative idea that the ancient gods and modern UFOs might be the same entities, adapting to humanity's cultural and technological evolution. Yesterday they appeared as gods, angels, or demons. Today they appear as ships and extraterrestrial beings. They haven't changed, we have.
Wow.
These intelligences, far from seeking our evolution, may have guided religions, wars, and control systems from invisible realms for their own benefit.
I could see war, but maybe not religion. And or I could see everything he just said, but not being applied to these like gods or with lowercase g's, like or these Anunnaki, fallen angels. Take all that out of the picture. If it's just humans here, all this could still apply, but just humans at the top using all this stuff for their own corporate greed and energy harvesting. It could all be real still, but it's focused on that it could stem from humans. So we could be our own worst enemy. We could be the monsters.
He even claimed that certain governments know of their existence and have secretly made pacts with them.
That would understand the birth of the NDA, right?
Freixedo did not deny God. He believed in an omnipresent consciousness that exists in everything. But he
I like that. Not Christ consciousness, but yeah, universal consciousness, or there was another word I had for it that was good. I can't think right now. So
warned
go
that
figure.
between that God and us exists a cosmic hierarchy of beings who operate as intermediaries or manipulators. That is why he warned, do not blindly believe or deny. Observe, question, investigate.
I like that. That's why we have this brain to use as a tool. If you don't use it, it will be used for you and by you, by somebody else, like against you. Yeah, it will be used against you, not for you. You have the power to use it for your good and for your benefit and everybody around you. Or if not, somebody's going to hijack that brain and use it against you, bro. Don't let them do that.
Understanding this possible manipulation should not lead us to fear, but to a deeper awareness. Freixedo
Wow, I liked that last picture where people seem to be asleep, like get it, like not tapped in. And then this one girl was her eyes were open and she was looking outside of the train And come on,
Was
you
not
get it.
calling for defeatism, but for awakening.
The red pill and the blue pill, Neo. The blue pill, you wake up and forget this ever happened. You take the red pill and you see how deep the rabbit hole goes.
If these entities have influenced our beliefs, institutions, and perception of reality,
Why the did they make Morpheus look like that? Is that racist or just mean? Or both?
then the true act of rebellion is to open our eyes, think for ourselves, and raise our consciousness above the systems of control. This is where the true purpose of the human being comes into play, not as a slave to external forces, but as the protagonist of their own inner journey.
Okay. Kind of, when you say your own protagonist of your own journey, it makes me think of esoteric tradition. It makes me think of the Truman Show. Mhm.
The
Look at the esoteric allegory effortlessly weaved within the confines of that movie. Mm. Great source of verbiage, Joshua.
hero's journey and spiritual liberation. Although at times Freixedo's vision may seem dark or challenging, his message was not one of despair, but of awareness. We are not condemned. We are not trapped without a way out. He always insisted that our mind and our consciousness are the only real tools we have to free ourselves from control and manipulation.
Well, when I activated the sacred secretion and I had my sacred secretion activation for the first time and the strongest time, February 15th, 2023, everything changed. Everything. And it was from within. I was diving in, dive in, divine. You rearrange it, dive in can spell divine, because when you dive in you realize that you are the one who's divine. You are the one who has the Christ consciousness. The Christ lives within you. When Jesus said things like that and spoke in parables, it wasn't always as complex as one might think. Okay, he was kind of telling us, it's an internal alchemical process within our body for transformative experience. But it is also an outer thing where Jesus was a person, didn't let die on the cross for our sins, and took that on in the flesh. So it's both. Why do people have to argue all the time? Oh, I'm Christian or I'm Gnostic. You can't be a Christian Gnostic. You can't be a Christian mystic, which is what I probably am. I was born Catholic, but I resonate with the mysticism found within the Bible as well. So I don't know what the hell I am. How about this? I'm just somebody who's alive and passing by.
We inhabit a dual universe,
Ooh,
and that duality is not a mistake or a prison.
to escape reincarnation, your heart must be as light as a feather. If it's not equal or even lighter than a feather, then you reincarnate because you haven't learned your purpose yet on Earth. This is what I heard about the symbolism of this.
In itself, but a fundamental law of the material plane. Since the most ancient civilizations, it has been spoken of as a cosmic principle.
That looks like water and wind mixing. And it's funny because wind symbolizes the aerial, like the air, right? But some people who believe in the firmament, like me, believe that up there, the reason it's blue and the reason we see stars is just those stars are just hydrogen matter within waters above. It sounds crazy, but yeah, the blue above. Oh, the sky is blue and the ocean's blue.
Yin and yang, heaven and hell, day and night, expansion and contraction, matter and spirit.
Tacticus. How about almost
The Kybalion, an essential hermetic text.
the Kabbalion? Dude fucking botched it with his weird British accent.
Clearly summarizes it in its second principle. Everything is dual. Everything has two poles. Everything has its pair of opposites.
Don't agree with that. I think on surface level or material world it does, like light and darkness, good and bad, black and white, blah blah blah, red and blue, blood and crypt. Democrat, Republican, boom, yeah. But when you realize, when you actually activate your pineal gland and when you actually tap into the God that dwelleth within you, lowercase g, we're not God himself, but the power of God can work in and through us. And when you tap into that, you realize unity consciousness is what it really is. Everything's one. Not that this duality thing is surface level, it's physicality at best. When you rise from physical matter to spirit or your soul, and that's what you're embracing is these higher chakra systems, you're going to realize that unity and consciousness exists, or oneness, and so does duality. It's not that one can only exist and the other can't, or vice versa. No, everything can exist all at the same time. Oh, ye of little faith.
Duality is the force that drives movement, that allows for evolution and learning. Without the night, we wouldn't understand the light. Without
Okay.
death, we wouldn't value life.
Life.
As long as we are in this plane, we must learn to move within this game of polarities, not from resignation, but from knowledge.
Nice. I like that.
That
And duality is even seen in the yin yang symbol, because one side's white, one side's black. But even on the side that's white, there's a little bit of black. Even on the side that's black, there's a little bit of white. It's showing not just duality being divided right down the middle, but within each side finding the opposite mirrored imagery of the other, like the other one within it. Amazing.
is why knowledge, gnosis, is so important. And that
Okay.
is precisely what religions and elites have tried to keep us away from for millennia.
This is how they trick people with gnosis. Gnosis is great and all, but when you go down these Gnostic routes, some of the stuff is just gobbledygook. Like, the demiurge is really this big snake with a lion's head, and he's the real one who created us. Bro, how can your mind even believe something like that? But you're gonna laugh at us for just believing in our version of God? Bro, it just sounds wacky doo. Lackadaisical, wackadaisical, boopadoo, boopadoo. It just doesn't sound right, bro. But the basis, or the introductory level to Gnosis, is very interesting, and that's where they get many people, especially people who hate religion or don't get it. They basically say religion was wrong and here's why. I think your mind opens up and goes yes, yes, and you're ready to take it in as automatic truth. This is where they trick some of you, and you're like, people are like, I've awakened to my higher divine self because of gnosis. Bro, you're getting tricked too. Just like if we got tricked, y'all got tricked, or nobody's getting tricked. Maybe everything's freaking real, or nothing is.
Because knowledge liberates. But something is changing. Thousands, millions of souls are awakening. The internet, although it can be a double-edged sword, has been key in this process.
Wow, what a true statement that it is a double-edged sword, because that it can just hijack your attention span, and it can make you dumb and make you a robot basically. Or you can use it to actually ascend and become an even more intellectual individual, capable of far greater things. So it's a tool. How you use it is up to you.
We see how our attention is constantly diverted by infinite scrolls, by news spreading like wildfire, many of them designed to keep us in frequencies of fear, worry, and scarcity. And yet, it is also an immense source of knowledge, a way to connect with like-minded people, no matter the place. If we learn to use our reason and our awareness, if we filter information through our inner voice, we can access a deep wisdom that in other times was reserved only for a few. But it's not enough to accumulate intellectual knowledge. That is only the first step. True wisdom is found within us, in the awakening of that divine spark we all carry inside, in the profound
Okay.
act of remembering who we truly are.
Yeah. And that can be catapulted or sped up. The process can be expedited by learning. I know of at least 5 different ways to spiritual ascension, spiritual awakening, spiritual enlightenment. The sacred secretion is the strongest by far, in my humble opinion, based on my personal experience. That's what transformed me. That's what really woke me up. So I would recommend searching it after this video. Write it down right now when this video is paused. Write down you got it, sacred secretion. as in secret ion, but one word. Secret ion, because it's a secret ionization process as well. Ooh.
Frixedo understood it this way. Yes, there are entities that might feed on our densest emotions. Just as we consume plants and animals to live, there may be beings that feed off human effort and emotional fields. But that
Yeah.
does not make us inevitable victims. We have the power to decide what kind of energy we generate.
Oh, what if we start noticing that they're feeding on our energy? So we shift energy to bad stuff that they wouldn't like, and then they start taking our energy still, like keep doing it, and they go, "Ew, the energy isn't good," and we go, "Ha ha, gotcha." So, or you can learn to transmute the negativity that they want to instill upon us. They hate that because you're basically saying all your efforts are in vain, bro. I'm above you.
And there lies the key. If we live trapped in states of fear, anger, guilt, or resentment, we align with the lowest frequencies of the system. But if we cultivate love, compassion, gratitude, creativity, or peace, we raise our vibration above that influence. We stop being cogs. We begin to be consciousness.
Okay.
Oh, this level's gonna be easy. I can definitely handle 5 guys at once. Oh, there's more. Could have predicted that one, huh? Well, we got enough for our first crossbow tower, so let's get that going. Whoa, look at this chunk lord making his way up my path. Light work. Crossbow number 2 is...
The Gnostics, in the early centuries of Christianity, spoke of a humanity trapped in an illusory world governed by archons, intelligences that kept souls asleep, caught in a cycle of suffering and forgetting. But they also taught that within each human being there is a divine spark, a sacred seed that comes from the true world, and that this spark can be activated through gnosis, an inner knowledge, not intellectual, but spiritual. To know the truth is to remember who we are, where we come from, and where we can return. According to this vision, awakening is not an external struggle, but an internal rebellion.
It is.
A
Of course
sacred
it is.
act of memory that dissolves deception and breaks the veils of ignorance.
Amen.
This connects deeply with the teachings of many sages throughout history.
The moon has to do with it too. The sun is seen as masculine and the moon is seen as feminine. Just because I'm a guy doesn't mean that I do not have feminine properties within my makeup. So I must learn to embrace both. Now, because I'm a man, I'm supposed to be about 75 to 90% masculine and embrace that energy. I'm also supposed to be about 10, 15%, up to 25% feminine and embrace that energy. If I'm 100% masculine or like 95 to 100% masculine, that's when you actually see real toxic masculinity. Or not even that, because I think toxic masculinity is a front. I think people who are labeled toxically masculine are faking the funk a little. They kind of have this ego, that mask on, and the mask slips, and you see them for the narcissist or the fake that they are. But other than that, I think it is important. So for me, what it looks like as a male to embrace that your feminine energy is to be in touch with your emotions, not to shy away from them, not to act like they don't exist. Embrace them, recognize them, appreciate them, and move on. That's a very easy one for me. Another one would be acting from this sometimes instead of this, or your other head, gentlemen. But yeah, that's all.
Jesus spoke of the kingdom of God as something that is within us.
Because it
Buddha
is. It is. It's within. He said, "Do you not know that the kingdom of God is with, or the kingdom is within? You must tap in because you are a divine creature. You must dive in divine." Shout out to why can't I think of that kid's name right now? Harry B. Joseph. He's great on esoteric knowledge. Check him out.
taught that enlightenment comes when one sees clearly. The alchemists sought to transmute the lead of the soul into spiritual gold.
Lead to gold.
All pointed to the same.
It's known as transmutation. On the lowest level, it's just taking something that's supposed to destroy you, transmuting it, and making it something powerful that you can use to help you. Ah, so whatever. I'm not going to get into the intricacies of it right now.
Thing.
If not, this video is going to be like 10 hours
The
long.
awakening of consciousness as the path to liberation. And that awakening is not passive. It is deep work. It is the hero's journey Joseph Campbell spoke of. A journey of the soul that goes through trials, falls, rises, dies symbolically, and is reborn. Many feel deep down that they don't fully belong to this world, that there is something more, that they have been here before. Maybe it's true. Maybe we are ancient souls trapped in a cycle, but with the potential to break it. Frege Zado believed that every act of awareness, every luminous thought, every gesture of kindness
Grass.
is a way to break the spell, to step off.
It is. He's right. It's called transmutation. You're transmuting the bad and taking that energy and not losing it or putting it to the side. You're actually keeping the energy, the good part of it, but you're turning it into good energy that you can use and activate and benefit from. And best believe evil hates that, and they don't want you to ever learn what transmutation is or how to do it accurately and consistently.
The script, to disconnect from the control system and reconnect with the source. Because even though this plane is marked by duality, our spirit is not. The spirit remembers.
Because our physicality, our physical vessel is beholden to duality, the state of duality, two different things, the split. Yes, but the soul is unity consciousness. It's oneness. So we're these multifaceted creatures.
The spirit transcends. And by remembering who we are, by consciously choosing the higher side of polarity, we begin to free ourselves. That is the true awakening. And that is the greatest threat we can pose to those who have always fed off our unconsciousness.
Yeah, it's your way of saying no more. You might have loved feeding off of me and my energy my whole life. You're not getting another drop. So don't even try it because it's going to be wasted energy. Go find a less suspecting individual who you're going to love their energy, but you ain't getting it from me anymore. Not only that, take it a step further and start to save those around you too. Teach them how to protect their energy. Wouldn't you want to do that if you truly care for those around you?
Out here, every commander seeks something different.
Nerd.
Some
You're a nerd.
And what can we do in our daily lives? As we said before, gnosis is not achieved solely through books or theories. It is not a prize for the most learned, but a living, direct experience, a different way of inhabiting existence. To awaken, it's not enough to know. We must experience. To see what happens inside us and around us. To see what drives us, what dominates us, what lives within us.
Great.
And for that, the first step is self-observation, not as a judge, but as a silent witness. To watch ourselves in the midst of chaos, in the midst of routine, when the ego reacts, when emotion drags us, when thought repeats like a sick mantra. To observe without rejecting, just to see. Because what is seen begins to lose power, and what is seen with light begins to transform. Next comes silence. Not external silence, but internal silence. A sacred space that many have forgotten, but that is still there, waiting. Meditation, as simple as it may seem, brings us back to that inner temple where the mind calms and the voice of the essential begins to whisper. The soul doesn't shout. It speaks softly. Only in silence can we hear it. Then comes discernment. We live in a world.
When you do get gifted, if and when you get gifted the gift of discernment, everything changes. When your intuition means, if you're really tapped in with intuition and discernment, it means this sixth chakra, your third eye chakra, is bursting. Not only is it open or clear, it's bursting, bro. You've decalcified it, whether intentionally or by accident. Mine was by accident, just from training mixed martial arts so much, sweating so much. With your sweat, you're pushing it out. You're pushing out toxins. Many of those toxins are the thing that was around or on or around your pineal gland, and you get rid of those toxins. And just eating clean and drinking lots of water and sweating a lot and training hard does all that for me, and it did it for me naturally. I never intentionally tried to do that. It's just what happened. Then, when it primed my nervous system as well, I was able to activate the sacred secretion. So I ought to write down like everything that I was doing physically or mentally and how I felt and leading into it. So that way I can mimic that back in 2023 and I can make the perfect condition for that seed to be risen again, you
Full of
know?
noise that imposes, that constantly bombards us with stimuli, opinions, and prefabricated fears. That's why we must ask ourselves, like one who questions an oracle, is this feeling mine, or was it planted in me? Does this thought set me free, or does it bind me?
Wow. That's deep. I mean, that's really like now you're starting to meditate on this and reflect on it and on a deeper level. Good job.
A sharpened consciousness is the sword that cuts through deception, but it's not enough to see or to understand.
What a
We
cool
must
picture. The heart
cultivate
chakra
the
there.
heart, because knowledge without love becomes dry, sterile. True wisdom blooms when it is rooted in compassion, in forgiveness.
You see all the crystalline light body activation from the heart center. You must balance the left and right hemisphere through hemisync. Immediately after, you must balance this new profound one brain instead of two halves. This new one brain that's working in tandem together perfectly. You must take that brain and have heart mind coherence next. So first hemisync. Step one, hemisync. Step two, heart brain coherence. Step three, deep, deep meditation when both of those are active. Eventually, something magical is going to happen.
In conscious love, that love which sustains, which transforms, which heals, that love that cannot be manipulated but does not harden either. And then, the disconnection from the noise. The system feeds on our attention.
Wow,
It
look at
wants
that.
us distracted, divided, irritated, turning off the constant flow of information, stopping the endless scrolling,
That scares me. That picture. Wow.
carefully choosing what we allow into our energetic field. This is a revolutionary act. To reclaim attention is to reclaim.
You see that behind the mask, behind the face? That's us. That third eye. That so we see with these eyes, but then whatever goes in through there gets into our mind's eye or who we really are. So we're the observer of our thoughts, emotions, actions, our reality. Um, we are, partially we are this body, but we're so much more because we're within this body. And when, dude, if you've heard millions of testimonies, not millions, but thousands of people popping out of their freaking bodies, bro, and astral projecting or having an NDE and meeting Jesus, bro, like what are you gonna say? I'd understand if it was like half a dozen people over the course of 100 years. Bro, the numbers are pretty staggering, and you have to eventually admit maybe these people aren't cuckoo crazy.
Consciousness. And finally, to remember who we are, to remember that this is a journey, that none of this is accidental, that every day, every situation, every shadow, and every light are part of the process, and that we have a mission to awaken, not from the ego, but from
Yeah,
the self,
yeah, killing the ego, the dark night of the
to
soul.
return home, to return to the origin. Because true awakening is not a theory or a passing trend. It is a way of seeing the world. It is walking with the eyes of the spirit wide open, with full awareness, without being dragged by the illusory game of Maya.
That moon, remember, it symbolizes femininity and the feminine principle,
That web of deception,
known as emotion. And action is electric, masculine sunlight. But femininity is the moon or emotional brain, the right brain.
in which
It's
most
very interesting
remain
dichotomy.
asleep. By developing gnosis, inner knowledge, and recognizing those who pull the strings from the shadows, we begin to deactivate their mechanisms of control. We free the mind from their age-old traps, and, by consciously choosing the polarity of good, of light, we
Yes,
transform our reality from within and
that's
project it
true.
outward.
That second part's true.
That's it for today's video.
Oh,
I hope
okay.
this information was useful and enriching. Thank you so much for watching until the end. See you soon.
So yeah, that was pretty cool.
Stop playing.
So that's all I got in this reaction video. Thanks so much for stopping by. It's your boy Stigma the Stigma. And until next time, stay safe, be blessed, and live lavishly. I'm going to see all of you in the next reaction video. And until then, just know that I love you all. Peace and God bless.